What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Today at the gym, I was finishing up on the Stairmaster, one of my favorite machines. And if you've seen my legs, then you know why. But anyway, I was finishing up on the Stairmaster, and an older gentleman came up to me and he says, "Excuse me, sir." And I thought he was going to either say I dropped something. I didn't know what to expect, but I figure, because I always leave stuff at the gym. I forget my blender bottles. I leave my keys all over the place, Lord have mercy. But he said, "Can you show me how to use this machine?" And I looked at it and I said, "This one?" And he says, "Yes, I've never used it before." I said, "Okay, yeah, sure." So I caught my breath a little bit because I was out of breath. Because when I'm on the Stairmaster, I'm on the Stairmaster, you dig? But, and I showed him how to work it. I said, "Let me show you the emergency stops first," because we've all seen those videos. We've all seen those videos of people falling off treadmills and Stairmasters. So if you're ever in this situation, find out where the emergency stops are before you start getting on any kind of cardio equipment, okay? That's my advice to you there. But anyway, I showed him where the 2 emergency stops were on the Stairmaster. Then I showed him how to start the machine, how to stop the machine. Then we restarted the machine and I showed him how to increase the speed on the machine. Then I tried to correct his form a little bit because he was taking it one step at a time and he kept just lifting up with his right leg. I said, alternate your legs so that you're walking like you're walking up the steps. That way you don't work out one side of your body unevenly than the other. He said, thank you, and thank you for your time." I said, "No problem, anytime. Let me know if you need anything else." I walked away and I went on. I said that, and I told that story to you guys for a reason, a multitude of reasons, and I want to go into them right now. The first thing is, whenever you don't know how to do something, you need to swallow your pride and ask someone who is more experienced how to do it. Okay? I know that we have pride, especially as men. And when I say men, I'm not talking about mankind. I'm talking about males. We have a lot of pride, and I understand how we need to have pride in ourselves and pride in our appearance and pride in our character and pride in our integrity. But when it comes to asking for help, this is not an area that we need to have pride in. We need to, especially when we're in a genre, we're in a field, when we're in an area that we're totally unfamiliar with, we need to ask someone or something for help and for guidance. That's okay, okay? The second thing I want you to know when asking for help is this. If someone makes you feel stupid, if someone tries to make you feel dumb, if they try to belittle you, they try to make you feel like, why don't you know this? Or how could you make it through life? That's not the mentor for you. That's not the teacher for you. That's not the instructor for you. That is toxic. That is destructive. And that is disgusting, okay? As a teacher, as a mentor, as a life coach, as a motivational speaker, I thrive. I get excited. It boosts me up when someone thinks so highly of me that they're asking for my knowledge and my expertise. That means they see me like Professor Xavier. They see me like Captain America or Iron Man on the Avengers, like Batman or Superman. Like, I can go on with these analogies, but they see like Guy Sensei or Kakashi, like Jiraiya. They see me as the upper echelon, as the elder, as the one of knowledge. That should make you proud. You should be excited and happy to help and nurture someone, because the knowledge you give them, they're going to take with them for the rest of their life. Whether they use it or not, no one can take from them what you've taught them. So you should never, ever be disrespectful. You should never have someone who's disrespectful when they're trying to teach you something. when you're trying to learn something. Like, you go in to learn a craft, you go in to learn a sport, you go in to gain knowledge in a genre. It's not the time for someone to boast and stun on you. If you want to boast and stun on somebody, you go out there and you find your peers, you suit up with them on the court, and you see how good you really are. You don't boast and stunt on the new people just getting in the game. That's, you don't see Goku running around beating up on the, he always wants the biggest challenge, the best challenge. That's why Goku's Goku. But don't even get me started on that, because I'll go down a tangent on that. It's just disgusting. If someone tries to do that to you, find another mentor. The other thing I want to say about people when you're asking for questions is make sure that you're following up the information they give you with questions of clarity. Take advantage of this time, right? Because he was asking questions. He was like, does this do this? What about this? Oh, like this? And like when I corrected it for him, he's like, oh, like this? And I was like, yeah, there you go. You got it. So when I'm a teacher and somebody's asking me questions, again, I don't get frustrated or upset with them. I'm like, oh, good. They're asking questions because they want to know. They want to get to know. They want to further their knowledge. They want to make sure they understand what I'm telling them. They're thankful for the opportunity they have, and they're grateful that I'm taking the time to help them, right? So now I want to talk about from the side of the mentor, right? The first thing I want to say is, remember, before you say anything to anybody that is asking you for help in your expertise, in your field that you're in, there was a time when you didn't know jack diddly about what you know now. You didn't know the difference between paprika or cayenne pepper. All you knew was they were both red powders, if we're talking about cooking. You didn't know the difference between a automatic transmission or a manual transmission, if we're talking cars. You didn't know the difference, and I can go on and on. Remember, like, there was a time that you didn't know anything about what you know now. So do not sit there and assume that they know the basic stuff. Start at the basics and teach them that. That's why I started with the emergency stop. Most people know the emergency stops are red on the treadmill and on the Stairmaster. But he said he'd never used this machine before. Now, how bad would I have felt if I looked back a few moments later and seen him on the ground with his head busted open and I didn't teach him how to do the emergency stops? That would have made me feel horrible, man. I promise you, I never want to see that from any of my students to hurt themselves or anybody that I train, right? So that's number one. Remember that you were ignorant completely to this thing at one point in time. Second, take and teach this person as if it's somebody you love. If it's a male, like a brother or uncle, like if it's a female, like a mother or a cousin or a wife, as like a daughter, like a sister, like a grandma. Especially men, when we teach women, you need to make sure that you are being respectful and that you are being protective of their well-being, their emotional state. Do not disrespect this female. Do not disrespect this woman. And remember that this is somebody's mother, this is somebody's grandmother, this is somebody's sister, somebody's daughter. You don't want them to get hurt. You don't want them to feel alienated, embarrassed, or uncomfortable, okay? And the last thing, I'm just going to double down. Don't say something that, is going to make them feel like they're stupid. This isn't the time to stun on somebody. If you want to stunt, if you want to test your power, you test your power against those who have the same equal or on the same level power as you. You don't go to a number one if you're a level 100 and beat the brakes off of them. Like, you don't see Charizard beating the brakes off of Charmander thinking that he's the toughest of the tough. He fights Blastoise. He fights Ivysaur or Venusaur. Like, at the end of the day, you need to be competing with those that are on your level. Don't compete with those that just started the game. Don't destroy somebody before they even got off the ground. Don't clip a bud before it has a chance to sprout. So I just wanted to share that with you because it was a beautiful moment for me. It really was, right? We were both different ages, right? We were both different ethnicities. We both came from different backgrounds. We both could tell this, but there was no, we took no